We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast, but we're also doing a TikTok live. So this should be interesting. We're on the verge of TikTok being shut down. Now it turns out they're probably not going to do that. But we're on a TikTok live as we speak. And we're going to take some people and talk to them about their thoughts about what's going on, not only with TikTok, but with other situations in government, the imminent inauguration of Donald Trump and all these sorts of things. We're going to have plenty of things to talk about. So this will be alive and people are starting to join en masse right now, and that's good to see. I just want to see who's out there right now as possible guests. If you do want, let me put it this way. If you do want to come on and ask a question or make a comment, please feel free to do that. I will just warn you ahead of time that if you're a Trumplafuck trying to play a game and do some things, we've got TJ the plumber and Rebecca out there that will take your ass down, possibly Greg Captain as well. If you come on this show and you start talking some bullshit, I'm not going to argue with you because there's no point. You're stupid and you won't do well in the argument. So I'll do you a favor and I'll just shut you off and get you the hell out of here. So we're going to talk about a lot of shit. We're on TikTok right now, and a lot of people suggest that TikTok was going to shut down. Now, I will tell you this. I've said all along that I would be surprised if they actually shut TikTok down because, well, there's too many people on this app, too many votes, too much money, billions of dollars of commerce on this app. Nobody's just going to shut it off and leave that money on the table. Not even the government, not even the tech people. You know, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta wanted to get rid of it because they saw it as a threat, and they thought if they could get rid of it, that it would help Facebook and Instagram and such. But the fact of the matter is Mark Zuckerberg lost 35% in value in his stocks in the last few days. So, well, fuck that. It didn't happen. But let's talk about what happened with TikTok. And I'm a little annoyed with the Democrats and I'm sorry, I'm mixed up here, and Joe Biden as well. It's the way they handle this. We knew the TikTok ban was set to take place on January 19th, just before the inauguration. Everybody was pretty strident about this. All the Democrats and the Republicans, no, we've got to shut it down. It is a security threat. Well, that's not really the problem. The problem is we're out talking amongst ourselves, and they don't like that. They want control over it. So that's what they wanted to do, force TikTok to sell it so they could control it. Well, TikTok didn't blink, and all of a sudden they start getting kickback because a lot of people like TikTok. They use TikTok. It's used in businesses. There's a lot of commerce. So now they decided, what the fuck are we going to do? They played their hand too far. So now they're rushing around trying to figure out how to keep it. And they thought they did it with a bill that they were going to pass, but of course Tom Cotton, that worthless piece of shit, shut that down. And that probably pissed off a lot of Republicans as well as Democrats. So now Joe Biden started talking in the White House, and they said, don't worry, they're going to try to do something. They're going to try to stop the ban. Joe Biden and the White House came out, and they decided to do something by doing nothing. What they are going to do is they're waiting for the Supreme Court. Apparently the Supreme Court is coming out, and by the time you hear this on the podcast, it will already be out. Now, the Supreme Court could say, we uphold the ban, and then we're kind of fucked, or we overturn the ban, and then everything's great. But if they say we're going to uphold the ban, it's still not going to be shut down on Sunday, because what Joe Biden said is, I'm not going to enforce it. We'll leave it for 36 hours and let Donald Trump handle it. Now, by the time you hear this on the podcast, you may have already known what happens here, but it frustrates me and it tells me a lot about the Democrats and what the Democrats have done through this entire campaign. They've done nothing. They haven't been aggressive. They haven't been assertive. They haven't taken a shot at any opportunities out there. They just stand there with their hands in their pockets going, oh, well. And this is one of the things that's really bothering me about the Democrats. They're going to need to change some things. Steffi V says they'll do anything to try to make Don look like a hero. Yeah, but there's another guy on TikTok who made an excellent point. If Don makes the decision, Dirty Diaper Donnie makes the decision to save TikTok, how much power does that give Donald Trump over TikTok? That's the interesting thing. Aurora Boldiero says, but I don't understand. This is supposed to be a free country. I know that only they need to control. Well, it is supposed to be a free country, but that is only for the wealthy, apparently. They want control over us. And this is what I've said before. This fight that we've been fighting all along isn't between Democrats and Republicans. It's between us and them. Because there are some Democrats that aren't exactly on the side of the people. It's about the middle and lower level income earners in this country who are the backbone of this country. It's us against them. And I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about oligarchs. Why did Biden do that? Well, that's an excellent point. It's just another gutless move. I don't want this hanging over my head. Make it Donald Trump's trouble. He had an opportunity here to make a stand, to make a statement, to stand up for this country and make a decision. But this is the problem with Democrats. They don't make decisions. They just kind of wait it out. They're trying to play the political game. I got news for Democrats. What we're in right now has nothing to do with politics. It's literally a war. And we don't need politicians. We need warriors. And if you're not a warrior, step fucking back. All right. Let's see. We've done nothing wrong. Why didn't they worry about saving money they collect from us? Yeah, they weren't thinking. They were just making a move that they thought would help them win the election. That's all they were thinking about. All right. I got somebody here by the name of Humble Cuz, who's clearly a dipshit. And, oh, he's gone. He's gone. I'm going to check who's the possible guests out there are. I'm going to pull in TJ and Rebecca. They are moderators. And I'm going to take some other people as well eventually here. But I wanted to bring in Rebecca and TJ because they are moderators and they are also people who offer some input and perspective as well. I got to make my picture here a little bit bigger. I'm the star. I'm the fucking star here. I got to have the appropriate position.
FYI.
Rebecca, how you doing today? Hey, Rebecca, how you doing today?
I'm good, Mike. Sorry, I had you on mute for a second because I was reading the comments.
Oh, no
How are
problem.
you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. The way I look at things is I don't worry about the past. I don't worry about what happened. I don't worry about the future. I worry about what's in front of me and try to do the best I can with whatever confronts me and hope for the best and assume the best and assume this might be a tough road to hoe, but there will be sunshine in the end. If you can't look at life that way, what's the point of fucking living it?
Yeah, I agree with that. Everybody's really
That's TJ the plumber.
everybody's really melting down about the TikTok ban. Everybody needs to calm down. I mean, I really don't think that they're going to risk losing that amount of commerce. And there's
No, of course not.
and furthermore, Trump's rich friends are really invested into TikTok. And if they lose 174 million users, that stock is going way down. It's going to tank.
Yeah.
And
Even if on the off chance they do get rid of TikTok, the technology is there to start another one, and it'll take time, but it'll happen.
well, the algorithm is proprietary, so it's going to be tough. But to make it,
They'll do it.
yeah, someone can figure
Well,
it out. But it's not realistic to think that it's going away. It's a lot of bluster, in my opinion. I think that you know, Joe kicked the can down the road and said, "Hey, Trump, figure it out. It's your problem."
Yeah,
And
and Trump is going to make himself the hero and save TikTok.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna bring Eric into this too, and I'm gonna say something to Eric and see what he thinks about this. As much as we're we hold TikTok precious. It is simply a technology, and technologies time out. They have an expiration date. Facebook, for example, MySpace, for example.
Yes.
TikTok is the hot commodity right now, but to think there isn't better and bigger technology coming where we will all be able to come together at some point down the road or that we will change things. Somebody likened the people on TikTok as to water. It will always find a way.
Yeah.
The
Well,
people
TikTok.
are the strength here, not the app.
Oh, I'd agree. And there's already options out there. I mean, it's not great, but Clapper is a pretty good option. It's about as close to TikTok as you're going to get right now. I'm posting stuff up over there, and it would only get better with more people involved. And if they
Yeah.
say TikTok, great. I think there's a chance. We may find out tomorrow what the Supreme Court is saying. I think their decision tomorrow is probably going to be on the TikTok case. Um, and it's a little unusual what they're doing here. Normally, they only release opinions on days they're also hearing oral arguments, unless it's the end of the term. But they're not hearing oral
Right.
arguments tomorrow. They're just releasing an opinion. And with us being up against the clock with TikTok, I think it's going to be the TikTok ban. And I'm hopeful that they will side with the First Amendment on this one.
But even if they don't, it's still not going to shut down on Sunday by way of what Joe Biden did and what Donald Trump promises to do. So I'm not real worried about it. Okay, I already got a violation warning.
Oh,
So TJ and Rebecca, stay focused. We've
I'm
already got
blocking them.
people
I'm
upset
blocking
about
it.
this.
I'm blocking the shit out of them.
All right, good. We're going to bring somebody else in here. Mary's you're on the show with us. What's on your mind?
Well, I just I keep hope up, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and you're probably gonna think I'm really stupid. I'm 64 years old. I never ever voted. The first time Trump
Hmm.
ran, I didn't think he'd win, so I he did. So then I voted for Biden, and then I voted for Kamala. But I don't understand because I don't know much. I watch you and I watch Isaiah, and you guys are so smart, and I've learned a lot because I don't know nothing about politics. But what I don't understand is if Joe Biden could have gotten there and saved us on any account, why didn't he? I don't understand that. Because they're saying like Joe Biden could have did something about he's the only one that can do something to keep Trump from in the office even now, but nothing's happened. And then it's
Well,
like
yeah.
they're saying I don't know, I've never heard nothing about TikTok. I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. I really don't. I don't even know.
Well,
Can anybody
TikTok's
save us?
TikTok's not going away on Sunday. We already know that for sure because Joe Biden's not going to enforce it. Donald Trump will probably delay it. There's too much money and too many people involved. TikTok's not going away. And if it does, we've had worse things happen in this country, like
That's
electing
true.
Donald Trump. But and don't be ashamed of not knowing much about politics. Quite frankly, there's a lot of people out there that don't know much about politics because they have their lives to lead and life is tough and they have to make a living and feed their families and take care of their families. It's not always possible for people to pay attention as much. I mean, you should pay attention as much as you can, but that's kind of why we do what we do here. Myself, Eric, TJ, and Rebecca, and Old Soul, and some of the others, because there are people that don't have the ability to parse through all the bullshit and try to come up with reasonable information. So we try to do that for you and try to help you out. So I appreciate you watching and at least trying to figure out what's going on in this country. I mean, the fact that you're curious is the most important thing, and you care, that's an important thing. So don't feel bad about not knowing a lot. There's a lot of people that don't know a lot and don't give a shit.
Well, I raised my kids and I worked and I just never paid no attention. Then when Trump was running, I was like, he's not going to win because I didn't like him from the start. And I really didn't think he would. And then he won and he was going to run again. I was like, oh, hell no. I didn't even know what it looked like to go in and to vote. I had no clue what I was supposed to do. So my friend said, just vote Democrat all the way down. Because I said, I don't know none of these people because I'm
Yeah,
not into
yeah.
politics.
What
But
state are
I've
you
learned a
in?
lot. Illinois.
Illinois? Well,
Yeah.
Illinois is pretty much a blue state, so you're probably pretty safe. But all you can do is try to be curious and understand right now, Mary, that whatever happens henceforth is not just what's happening in DC. What's going to happen is going to happen to all of us. So we
I
do have to
know.
get involved, and we do have to vote, and we have to speak our minds. And I'm glad you chose to do that here on this TikTok Live. I appreciate that.
That's
Well,
very
that's
brave of you, Mary.
that's
It's
why I
very
want to
brave of you.
learn, so I'll be able to vote. I want to start. I just figured our vote didn't count because see, I didn't understand the whole electrical thing. It's like, so if more people of us people vote, they get the bigger vote, but then the electrical, I don't understand all that. So see,
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Rebecca.
don't really know.
It's very brave of you to be the age that you are and have never voted for whatever reason, and to come out and vote, and to be on see the live like this, and to like want to get involved. That's what people need to do that haven't voted.
I want to learn.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well,
Keep watching here.
well, yeah,
Can you
keep
drop?
watching here.
I will. You could drop me out on how to do all this. I'm new to this kind of stuff.
Okay, it's no problem. But Mary, you're welcome anytime, and keep watching and ask questions, and we'll do our best to help you out.
Thank you so much, honey.
All right, thank you, Mary.
All right, bye bye.
That is Mary from Illinois, and we thank her for coming on. You know, this is the thing to all three of you. This is the thing. There are a lot of people that don't understand or don't know. Now, there are people that don't know that will just jump on any bandwagon like the Donald Trump thing. And I've always said there are two kinds of people. There are people who don't know a lot about a certain subject but want to learn. Those are good people. Those are people I can respect. But then there are other people that don't know shit and think they're experts and make dangerous choices. And that's who we're talking about with Trumplefux.
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask you about this. Somebody brought this up. Mr. Beast wants to buy TikTok. What do you think? I don't know. I know he has a lot of money. I know he's charitable and he's a little weird on top of that. I don't, there are plenty of people that want to buy TikTok, but they're going to have to buy it without the algorithm. And if they buy it without the algorithm, it's no longer TikTok anymore anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, as far as Mr. Beast buying it, the only benefit I see would be they could have used his offer as the springboard to kick the 90-day extension in to give him more time to come up with an actual law to avert the sale or to avert the ban, etc. Didn't even say he had to go through with the sale in that 90-day window, just that there had to be an offer. But without the algorithm, it doesn't matter who buys it, it's going to suck. It's no longer TikTok, and if certain people buy it, I will delete every video I have on here, and I will shut my account down if somebody like Musk or Zuckerberg gets it.
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Wonderful, no way. People like us wouldn't be allowed to have a voice. We'd be hit with community guideline violation after violation, just for saying the same stuff we've always said. The minute you say Donald Trump's an idiot, they'd flag your account and shut you down anyway. So I wouldn't do it anyway.
You know what I think's going to happen? I'll tell you what I think's going to happen. This whole sale thing is a bunch of bullshit, and I don't think TikTok's already made it pretty clear that they don't want to sell their company, right? So here's what I think's going to happen. It's not going to be sold. Something regulatory is going to happen between the U.S. government and the company. They're going to implement some sort of rules to allow ByteDance to continue to operate. Maybe some sort of oversight where someone, is a custodian of data or whatever it is. I really don't think it's going to sell. They've made it pretty clear that they don't want to do that.
That makes sense. You might be onto something.
And like I say, even if they do sell it without the algorithm, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's a junk product without the algorithm. It's a junk product.
Absolutely. We're bringing Angela in now. Angela, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for bringing me up. And I want to say thank you to all of you for sharing all your perspectives and your knowledge. I too am 64 like Mary. I too am from Illinois. And
Oh,
I just, so that was a coincidence. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that I heard that Project Liberty has made a huge
yeah,
offer. I don't know if you were aware of that, um, to buy it. And my first thought was like, okay, well, if that happens, I'm leaving. Um,
yeah, absolutely.
uh, because it, again, for all the reasons TJ just mentioned. And like Mary, I uh, I came from Montreal when I was a child with my parents, and so raised in the Chicago area, lived my life, was happy. You know, never. I mean, I was aware of president was and the basics, but I never really paid attention to all the details, right? And I realized at one point after, well, first of all, when I first heard Trump was running the very first time, I literally dropped what I was holding and I said, what is going on? What is going on? Because I didn't like him even from before, you know, like in the 80s.
Yeah,
And so I started paying attention. And it's I'm embarrassed to say that I knew nothing, really. I knew nothing. But I realized that myself, like millions of other people, we're doing just what you mentioned. You know, we're just going to school. We were going to school, getting married, raising our kids, living life, following the laws that were placed, even through the presidents that we didn't like. You know, like we didn't like all of them. They weren't all fantastic. Nobody's perfect. But but here's the thing for myself, and many of my um, uh, friends feel the same way. We were never afraid. We were never afraid, and sadly now many folks are just plain afraid of what's next because he's not stable and he's so unpredictable and he's easily manipulated and everything to him is about the dollar.
right.
And he's a con man. I mean, that's it. He's a con man. And I stopped arguing with people on the other side, including family members, because you know it doesn't make a difference. They don't they're not willing to look at it on a broader scope other than, you know, and they're still fixated. Like I just got off a live where they're saying, oh, you know, 2 more days and the gas prices are going to come down. Like they don't understand it. And frankly, I didn't either before I started paying attention. So that's all I really wanted to share. Nothing earth shattering, but I appreciate everything that you share with us. I love watching your summaries of the events, the daily events and everything. And I just wanted to say thank you.
I appreciate that, Angela. And I'll just say this, you're right. A lot of people are afraid. There's a lot of fear out there. And at this point, we can't afford to be fearful. We can't afford to be afraid. This is the time we've got to be strong and fight back because Republicans thrive on fear. That's their whole strategy. And if we give them what they want, we're fucked. We've got to be strong. We've got to be pushing back. And any way we can, and whether it's a small amount or a little thing, you got to keep doing it. It's got to be a group effort. This is the only way we're going to fight back against it. And Angela, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
All right. Thank you. All right. So she brought up a good point. There's a lot of fear out there. And that's the first thing that people go to. Some people go through their whole life and fearful of everything. And that's not a way to live. That's not a way to live life. That's not a way to live a fun and prosperous life. But in this, as I've said before, some people want to take a political approach to Donald Trump and Trumplifux. That hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in 8 years. It's not going to work now. We got to look at it something different. This isn't politics. This is a war, and we need fucking warriors. Not only people like us, but we need somebody on the Democratic side to be a warrior. And I haven't seen that as yet.
Well, yeah, we talk about it a lot. Democrats are still playing by the rules of 15, 20 years ago. And Angela brought up a point that they didn't pay attention. They showed up, they followed the laws that were passed when you didn't like the president that was in office. That's because up until Donald Trump, realistically, politics was boring. It was pretty much civil, and you could get both sides to agree. Maybe you pass an infrastructure deal, and both sides say, "Okay, yeah, let's pass it," and they squabble about how much money to spend, but not whether or not it needs passed. Now, after Donald Trump, even passing an infrastructure plan turns into a squabble and a fight where, we can't let the other side win, can't let them score any points. Politics became a fight for everything, and Donald Trump has driven so much fear into everything that it's going to take a long time to get it back to the way it used to be after he's gone.
It really is. I'm going to pull in somebody else here. This guy's name is British John Comedy. So we get a international perspective. British John, how you doing?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Are you in this country or are you in
I am. I'm in
across the ocean?
well, I'd say sunny California, but the sun went down a while ago.
Yeah.
Um,
What's on your mind today as a British
well,
gentleman?
first of all, I love the measured tone you take in everything. I wish there was more. I wish there was more of you. By that I mean plural as opposed to gaining weight, because we're all able to do that without thinking these days.
I have no problem with it. I can do it in my sleep.
Oh, not saying we don't enjoy it. I'm still working out how badly Christmas hit me. But
Yeah.
that Christmas bread pudding, it goes down too easy, I will say. Um, you asked internationally, and I will say, um, I have my own thoughts, but let me reflect on what you were saying about international. Um, the world is preparing itself
True.
for this, and let me just explain my background. So whilst I am a comedian, I'm not being funny. I'm an ex-military intelligence hacker. I've served in 4 war
Okay.
zones. My favorite remains my marriage.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
those are scars you enjoy. But the world doesn't know what version they're going to get. Um, when I saw his photo today, his official portrait,
Yeah, I saw it too.
I'm like, what are you scared of? You were already the most powerful man in the world. What, what, when you've got 13 aircraft carriers that could take out any country 16 times over before lunch, why the eyebrow? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
what happened to
yeah.
carrying a big stick instead of scaring children?
Well, you have to understand. You have to understand. Donald Trump, being a narcissist, is immensely insecure. He's
hmm
constantly paranoid. That's why he goes after people that go after him. He is paranoid. He's a child. He's scared all the time. That's really who he is. Now, we'll say this to you, John. You said you like my measured tones. I'll put it to you this way. I can't take credit for that. If I didn't have measured tones, I wouldn't be married for 41 years. Trust me. That's where I get my measured tones from. But Donald Trump is not as confident as he appears. He's a narcissist, and the basis of narcissism is insecurity, and everything he does is to cover that insecurity.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm an asshole with a microphone. What it was,
Me too.
uh, give me a stage, and I'm fine. But ask me to be with my own thoughts, and it's not a happy place to be. I drive with the radio off. I'm that kind of serial killer. Anyway, um,
Okay.
but when I look at the NATO, obviously, with my background, it's how he's managed to infect this country with a combination of fear and anger. Um,
Yeah.
I, I I used to I was in Ukraine a while ago, and I can't talk about it. Um, but these are what people don't realize is currently we are having a war with our biggest adversary, and we're doing it for 12 cents on the dollar. And not
Right.
only that, we're not putting any of our sons and daughters in harm's way. I mean, that's what people don't understand. We have outsourced this horrible thing to other people who are borrowing. We're not giving them money. We've lent it. It's secured debt. Britain only finished paying for its Second World debt for all of the ships and the munitions that you gave us. We only finished paying for it in the late 90s. I mean, people don't understand
Right.
how these
Right.
programs work. And yet, we're not sending money to them. We're sending munitions that are made in Springfield. You know, when
Right.
when when they take a break from eating the dogs and cats, obviously.
Well, obviously.
I would assume that the canteen there is an interesting barbecue situation. But
Yeah.
it is what people don't realize is we're doing that because the alternative way of handling this situation is much worse because it involves people in digital camouflage with names like Bob, Steve, and Ted, and
Yeah.
not Sergey getting involved, and people getting bad letters from men in uniforms at their front door. And, I've lost too many friends to want to go through that again. And here's the
So what
crazy
you?
thing. Oh, sorry, sir. I was going to say, when I finish this,
No.
people, when they complain about prices, it's like, do you know how much bread is going to go up in price if this thing, this is, it's a global market. If the price of wheat goes up there, it goes up here. If we lose
Right.
20% of the world's supply of grain, the price isn't going up by 20%, it's going up by 40%, which is fine for me because my family owns a lot of the wheat and grassland on the Colorado-Nebraska border. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
even with the British, I married a Nebraska farming girl, so
Good
former
move.
U.S.
Good
Olympic
move.
swimmer. She's got a farm. She looks good and she's smart. I mean, full package. And I'm the one that got a green card, so
How did you
Um,
pull that shit off? How did? Yeah. That's impressive.
let me
British
add
guy
to it.
comes over,
It's
scoops
worse than
up
that,
a.
sir.
It's the
Yeah,
accent.
Oh.
Damn, you're right. And to make it worse, so she paid off her college loans as a swimsuit model. I, I, I,
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, I have an American wife and an anchor baby, and all of it because of the accent. This voice covers a lot of personality defects. She heard what she wanted to hear. She didn't see the red flags, and I'm blessed. I really am.
Now she's stuck.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I just, um, I see this world and I feel so. I'm not somebody who has a lot of empathy. That's what non-standard. That's what atypical Asperger's does. But I have empathy for these people who don't know what's going to happen to them. They're so proud of what they've won, and yet so far they haven't accomplished anything. And the things that they're going to accomplish are going to punish them. I
Yeah.
heard somebody talking today about HR 25, and it's going to eliminate payroll taxes and replace it with a 23% sales tax on everything.
That's called the fair.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, it's been introduced in HR 25, and I haven't done my research for that. I apologize. I should never talk about something I haven't fully
That's called the
researched.
fair
But
tax. It's been something that's been proposed for years and years and years and years and years.
And the
20 plus.
thing is, ma'am, none of these people that are making, I'm sorry to say this, none of these people who are making less than $40,000, and there's a lot of people in this country who don't make more than $40,000, have looked at their paycheck and worked out that they pay less than 25% tax in total between state and federal. Like, we don't, this, we don't tax our billionaires enough.
Yes,
The,
that's why the fair tax, the original concept of it is based on there's no income tax, but you pay for the goods that you buy. So, but if you buy a used car, you don't pay tax on it. You only pay tax on a new car. There's a threshold for lower income that you don't pay tax on certain foods and certain like necessities that you have to live. I don't know what they have, what the proposal is now, but that's what the basic fair tax was.
Yeah, none of that's going to be in there. You know that.
Oh no, of course not.
No, I mean, how do you protect the wealthy on a 23% sales tax? I mean, if I go buy a car for $10,000, that means I'm going to buy it for 12.3. But if you're buying a yacht for $900,000, they're going to have to pay for it. That's why I don't think it'll work, because the rich are going to have to pay some money in, and obviously they have no taste for that.
respectfully say you're not going
It
to
also pretty much gets rid of the IRS, which is problematic.
Well, I know what will happen. Well, here's what will happen.
What's-
They'll eliminate tax on tips. So they'll buy the yacht for $1 and then tip them $900,000.
That sounds silly, but you're absolutely right. There will be a way to game it, a loophole.
I know it sounds ridiculous. I know it does, but that's what's going to happen.
And trust me, I'll be first in line to ask my boss for a $1 salary and a $200,000 tip. Trust me, I know myself pretty well in that situation. Look, I just, this isn't the America I fell in love with. I
No, me either.
I started spending serious amounts of time being here back in '99, when Bush was in office and the West Wing was still on its first run, and either version was actually not a bad place to be. The TV version was great, and the real life one wasn't that bad. And to see where we are now, Trump season 2, orange is the new red, white, and blue, is, sorry, analytic. I've been working that bit for a couple of days now. I think it's there now. I think that, it is. I can't. You're a fool to date back-to-back redheads. So why would you make this mistake twice? It's,
Yeah.
if you got out of the situation once, you don't go, regardless of heckle, you don't go back to the crazy ex. That's like rule number one. And even worse than the people that knowingly voted for it, it's the people who didn't vote. People that voted for Biden and then chose not to. Those missing, was it 5.5 million voters? Because
Yeah.
I feel for them. I understand why they felt like it wasn't important, like it couldn't happen. I understand all the reasons. And especially as there's nothing wrong with redheads. The reason I make that joke, ma'am, is because they're my favorite, but don't tell my brunette wife. Okay, that's why I said it. It's a disease. Not being a redhead, being a man. I'm as dumb as I look, and twice on Sundays. Sorry, I always get a response from the redheads on that one. It's because I love you too much. That's the problem. But
Okay, there you go.
But anyway, yeah, no, I love this place, so I really do, and I just feel, I feel a sense of guilt. I live here in California. I live in the Bay Area, and I'm insulated from much of this craziness that's going to be coming. If they, sorry, sir.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh,
I was just gonna say I really feel for you, John. It's too bad you have to suffer like this with a swimsuit model wife who was an Olympian and living in the middle of the country. You got it rough, man. You were an intelligence person, and you became a comic. That seems like a odd transition, or maybe it's a natural transition.
Um, it's the comedian. My friend of mine said the asshole was always there. We didn't know you were going to become a comedian. I, I don't think he was wrong. I was encouraged by my VP of marketing 8 years ago. He said, "You know what? You should do sales training in the morning, stand-up comedy at night, and they should be different things." And
Yeah,
yeah, and bless him, when I got my first spot at the Comedy Store in LA, he traveled down to see me, and so he had the conviction to follow up on it. But the one thing I would encourage anybody who's listening to here, and I appreciate since the British guy came on, your numbers have dropped substantially. That is my gift.
no, thank you.
Um, when he was elected, and we all had, I'm going to call it a moment of grief and possibly depression. I also went into what I will call nihilism. I said, "F it,"
Yeah,
because I'm going to be fine. I live here in the Bay Area in California. We have means. We have a good, strong community. And our governor and our state and local politicians will insulate us from the worst of it. And if he does get uppity, they'll remind him that we contribute a damn sight more of the federal budget than anybody else.
right.
Um, and but but there are so many that don't share this privilege that, which respectfully I work bloody hard for. And we need to think of them when they're suffering. Don't remind them. Don't remind them that they asked for this. Remind them that they can vote to change it. Hopefully he fucks up so badly in the next 18 months that 2 years from now, the course can be maybe not corrected, but a break can be applied in the midterms.
Yeah.
That is my hope, my only hope in this.
That's a sad thing is 2 years from now we can hope against hope that the Democrats take control of the House and the Senate, but that doesn't save us. That just gives us a position to block anything he wants to do. That's the only thing it does, and unfortunately, that means for the next 4 years, very little is going to get done, and that's as troubling as some of the horrific shit we think he might do. We have to look back at the first term. He talked a lot of shit. He didn't get much done except for the tax break for the rich. He's incompetent. He's delusional, and he has trouble holding his attention on anything. So I'm not convinced that he can get a lot of this stuff done. He's going to try. I think he's going to get pushback from the Republicans because they will pay the price in 2026. But we're going to get nothing done. We're not going to improve anything for 4 years.
Hey,
I,
Mike, JD Farmer in the chat is suggesting that John come on the podcast.
Yeah, John, you could do that.
I'd be happy to.
Have you,
I pod all the time. If you don't mind, I would do it under my stage name, not my real name, because family and stuff. But if you don't mind British John doing it, then I'd be happy to. I'll even keep some of the jokes out.
Hey, John, do
No.
you think my name is TJ the Plumber?
yeah. And
I didn't think anybody would choose the name TJ on purpose, but maybe I was wrong.
I will say that Rational Boomer is my given name. It was weird when I was a kid, but it's kind of taken hold now.
You've grown. To be honest, you've grown into it. You really have.
I have. Like my head, I grew into that too.
Phew.
One of the things, and if any of the people who think they're right now, and you've won this, and it you have the opportunity to seize the day, and you have a mandate. And by the way, when I was younger, a mandate was a guy called Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Miss him. Great guy. I we always I'm not so I am what you guys in America would call a liberal, but in England I would be called a conservative. I have my own business. I like money. I like to take care of my own community. That used to be what conservative it was. Now, obviously, I'm a raging communist, but that's just how the
yeah,
scale has changed. But one of the things that I always admired about conservatives when I didn't like them in the past was this whole we take care of our own, and now you have to, and you have to
yeah,
do it in a practical basis. So I was fortunate. Well, I'm very fortunate with her, and I know that. But company I work for got acquired, and I supermaxed my kids. What's it called, a 729 college account? And there was a privilege. I cried when I wrote that check, and it's probably one of the few good things I'll do as a father. But right now, what we're doing, she has a tutor. She goes to the tutor every week for extra reading. She's 8 years old. She doesn't need the help, but we want to make sure that she stays ahead because it's a lot easier to stay ahead than it is to make up.
yeah,
Especially with these kids that learn to read during C19. She had me as a teacher and an iPad, and neither of those things are good. But what we do is every time she goes to the tutor, we pay for the session, and we put the same amount of money, $45, into a savings account, which has got a 12-month lockup. We're preparing for the future because things might turn down, but we don't want to take any investment out of her because, and this is the thing I want to leave with people. If you've got kids, we don't live for ourselves.
no,
We've performed our duty. We brought them into this world. And don't get me wrong, there are moments when I think about sending her out of it. She's 8 turning 30. But we live for them. And the love that I get from her face. And I cried last Wednesday when Miss B, her tutor, told me that she'd reached grade M in her reading. I have no idea what the hell that means.
but you were
But the
proud.
fact that Miss B told me that she was now at grade M and it meant it was a good thing and something that wasn't expected in this moment gave me more pride, dare I say, than when that intelligent, beautiful woman said, sure. She didn't say yes. She said sure when I asked her to marry her because she was still clearly, some of the red flags were showing. The British accent wasn't as strong that day. But
Yeah,
so I've taken too much of your time, and I'm immensely grateful. I already follow you. Send me a follow, but let me know about the pod. I would love to be part of it. I'll leave you with this because I see people are questioning the accent in the comments. So let me just help you all. This is the accent you could have had. You decided to go in a different direction. I respect your
yeah,
choices, your freedom, and your pronouns. I have my own. I am transatlantic.
yeah. There you go. So John is trans. Well, John, all you have to do is email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com. We'll connect up there. We'll work something out. We'll have you on the podcast. I don't know if you've ever seen the podcast, but this live will be a podcast too. So you already kind of been on the podcast, but we can have it where we connect with Zoom and we talk about stuff, and I can languish in your British accent, and I can be the dumbass with the Midwestern accent. So it should be an interesting show.
Where in the Midwest are you from, sir? If I might ask. Is that not a
Minnesota.
piece of- Oh, lovely. Oh,
No, Minnesota.
I still
Minnesota.
have. I still have fond Manny's Steakhouse, I believe, was the best 90-plus day dry aged steak I ever had, with a roasted potato and a béarnaise with enough calories in it to kill you twice.
Yeah, Manny's is great. Mancini's is great. There's a lot of good steakhouses here. I want to give you one tip. You have a young daughter, right? She's 8 years old.
Yep, going on 30. Mm-hmm.
Going on 30. I know I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who's much older than she seems, or than she is chronologically. But I will tell you this, I have sons that are 37 and 31, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Once they get to that age, she won't think you're smart, and she sure as hell won't think you're funny. I'm just warning you ahead of time because my kids are so unimpressed by anything I do. It's kind of disappointing, but I kind of get it.
I have a question for John before he goes.
Please,
What's
teacher.
that?
John, you said you're a comedian, yes?
Yes, sir.
Are you do you tour? Like, do you do like a national level tour, or
It's kind of interesting. So I actually, the answer is kind of. I'm in an interesting place right now. I'm going to start touring again soon. Back in August, we had a family situation, which meant I had to basically stop immediately. Um, which wasn't a bad thing because I did 9 shows in one weekend in Vegas, which nearly ended me. Um,
I get it.
Yeah, I did 9 shows in Vegas, and then I said, you know what? I can get up at 6 a.m. and drive to Salt Lake City to headline at Wise Guys. Yeah, I can do that, and then fly back to the Bay Area at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. Yeah. So I had to stop for a while. I will be on the road. So I'm putting my own tour together for my show, which is called Shot Collar Comedy, which is as stupid as it sounds. That's going to start that should be starting up again in May. And I will be on the road with various comedians, Sammy Obeid, Aaron Belial, and if you reason not to like me, I am the guy who did the Puerto Rico joke is the guy that gave me the name British John. Um, and I don't
Oh,
agree with his politics, but he's still a good friend, um, and a great mentor. But yeah, no, it diminishes me somehow. But when he gave me the name, he was still just normal Tony. He kind of took the red pill a little bit. Texas did something to him.
well,
Um,
he's obviously a creative genius. You know, he took the fact that the name John and that you're British and put them together as British John. That's absolutely brilliant.
it's worse than that. He didn't. It's because my handwriting was so bad. He couldn't read my name, but he could read my social media name. And so 2 million people saw him call me British John, and I will forever be grateful for that. What I'm not grateful for is the fact that a lot of my jokes involve American politics and your approach to AB in various states, and that went viral a couple of times. And so I have to take my social media down when companies are doing background checks on me to give me corporate employment.
Wow, wow. I will tell you this though, I feel for you having to get up at 6 in the morning and drive to another city, another state. I'm retired essentially from my business, which was radio, but now I'm pretty much focused on TikTok and social media. What I have to do is I get up whatever time I want. I put on a shirt and a hat. Frequently, I put on pants, and then I come and do fucking TikToks. That's all I do. So it's a much easier life, but I'm an older guy too, so I can't handle
We're wearing pants
the
now,
rough
right?
life of the road.
I'm looking at analytics, and he has that sort of pants optional look about
I
He
agree. I
does.
agree. I agree with that. He's not wearing pants.
Yeah, okay, TJ during COVID wearing a freaking suit jacket and shorts.
That's a true story. I would do Zoom meetings with shorts and a shirt and tie and a sport coat, but I'd be wearing shorts. That's a
I'm
true
not.
story.
Normally, I'm
Uh,
wearing
uh,
my.
uh,
Normally, I'm wearing my dinner when I'm doing stuff at night. I wear a smoking jacket, which is kind of my uniform. But I'm still wearing a shirt. But even this is a shirt that I've been wearing for 3 days over a bluey t-shirt and a hoodie. And
oh,
yeah, I'm wearing shorts because the heating's on. So yeah, the world is only what you can see. I
absolutely.
am. I am. I don't really have this on because it's got the family pictures behind me. But just thank you so much, sir. That I hear the conversations you've been conducting for the last while, and I'm glad I got on now. Obviously, none of us know exactly what's going to happen over the next couple of days with TikTok, but I just wanted to try and get an opportunity to connect with you before, if anything happens, and just thank you for the patience that you give to other people. I wish there was more people like that, and clearly that level of patience you have, sir, is why your marriage is so strong.
Yeah, married 41 years will give you patience, or you'll be killed. And I chose the previous. But so anyway, John, make sure you email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com, and we'll set it up. We'll do a little Zoom thing, you and me, and it should be interesting. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Look forward to it, sir.
hey, John,
Yes,
Rebecca
sir.
and I will watch. If you come on tour out our way, we'll definitely go.
I missed, where did you say again?
We're from Pennsylvania,
No, whereabouts in Pennsylvania? I didn't miss that bit.
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, Erie. I'm going to check. I'm Aaron, one of the guys I told with Aaron Belisle from AGT. I think he's going to be heading up that way. If you're on the podcast, I'll tell you about the time I was run out of DuBois, Pennsylvania.
Du Bois? Oh my God!
Oh Lord.
Of course you were run out of Du Bois.
I was
That's
run
like
out.
that's like Alabama.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I was run out of town because I offended the wife of the chief of police. And so you keep it family friendly. So I won't say what I said to her, but I will suggest that I said that her husband enjoyed certain physical relations with her because it was the only time she stopped talking. And
Well,
I
Wow.
well, John,
we,
I can tell
we
you one
didn't we
thing.
didn't get below 90 before we hit Youngstown, Ohio, and it's
That's
the
a long
only
ways.
it's the only time I swear I didn't stop to pee, which for a 46-year-old man was pretty impressive.
Well,
Yeah.
Before I hit the Waffle House.
John, I can tell you this: if you come to Erie, it's more of an accepting place.
I've been to Erie. I love Erie. It's delightfully
We have a
weird.
really good comedy club here, a really good one.
Yeah, we do. We really
It's,
do.
it's run by a magician. It's actually a really good comedy club.
I'm Googling right now and I'm checking Aaron's schedule. And if Aaron doesn't have it, I'm going to reach out to Aaron's booker and make sure it gets added. Okay?
Okay, well,
All
John,
right, sounds good.
John, follow me so I know. And
There you go. Done. All right, boys.
Well,
and
John-
girls, have a wonderful night. And I wish you all the best in the future, whatever future we have.
You too. And when you come on the podcast, understand this. There is no censorship. You say whatever the fuck you want. Like I tell people, my show, I make the fucking rules, and there are no fucking rules. So make sure you join us.
God bless you, sir. Have fun. Have a great night, boys and girls.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Mike,
All right, that's British John. Yeah.
can we zoom in on something? Because I didn't get a chance to read it today, and I want to know what's going on. What in the fuck is going on in the Minnesota House of Representatives?
Oh, yeah. Some other people have asked me about this. I haven't watched it that closely, but here's the thing: there was an election, and I think the Democrats won the majority by one election, one seat, and it was very close. And of course, the Republicans challenged it, and it's in court, so it's not been settled as yet. So the Republicans are trying to grab power before this is set up, and it's just all really ridiculous. They go in there, they're trying to do things without a quorum, and now the Democrats are suing them in the Supreme Court. It's a fucking mess. It's typical Republican bullshit.
So it's another Trump fuck move, in other words.
Yeah, it is. I have somebody asking something here. PJ Perry says, "What?" Excuse me. When I first started listening to Boomer, I was turned off by his F word. Now I say the F word. Yeah, it's like a virus. It's like a fucking virus. And don't be shamed by saying the F word. I will tell you this. When I was growing up, I said the F word a lot. My mom was a very nice, sweet woman who would never swear. Toward the end of her life, she had the worst mouth of anybody I've ever seen. My wife, who is a grandmother, a mother, and elementary school teacher, all that time, don't swear, don't swear. Now somebody cuts in front of her, it gets real fucking ugly with her. So I do have that influence over
My
people,
mom
and I
is-
appreciate
My mom's the same way, 75 years old, never swore her in front of us as kids her entire life. Now she swears. And I don't know where she got it from, but I don't know. Now she swears.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm gonna pull somebody else in here. what's his name? I'm waiting for it to come up. Yeah. Okay,
Dean.
this is Dean.
Hey,
Dean,
Boomer,
how
how
you
you doing?
doing?
I've been trying to get on your show for a long time. I have a lot of respect for you. I love what you have to say. And like I said earlier, I'm 71 years old, disabled vet, had a bad time over there. And my biggest concern is what Trump wants to do with the VA. And
Exactly. How are you feeling about that? I mean, obviously you're concerned about what you're hearing.
I'm totally concerned. I mean, I'm not the healthiest man. 3 heart attacks, open heart surgery. I mean, I got a lot of health issues, and the worst thing that's happened in my entire life, my wife had a stroke last June, and she's restricted to a wheelchair, so I had to retire from my work. I was with this company for 32 years, and now all I have is Social Security and my wife's Social Security and my little bit of veteran, not pension, but disability. So things are really tough. Things are really tough.
I'm
So
sorry to
it's,
hear that.
uh,
Go ahead, Dean.
yeah, it's really hard. Now my wife, I've been trying to do therapy with her so she can walk with a heavy walker with me pushing a chair behind her. And she can't really do it because her knee is bone on bone, so she has to have surgery. And we had to go on Obamacare, the something Care Act. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Affordable
not
Care Act.
Affordable Care Act. Thank you. And I'm paying almost over $400 for that, and things just suck. Things just suck.
Yeah.
And before she can have the surgery, she needs dental work and all this shit that's going on. And I don't know what to do. And if Trump takes away from the veterans and the VA, I don't swear a lot. I'm fucked.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. And what you have to understand is Donald Trump doesn't have the power to take that away. It has to go through Congress. And while there are majorities in the House and the Senate with Congress to take away from veterans or affect Medicare or affect Social Security, is essentially political suicide. This is what they do. They make claims, they make threats, and most of the time they can't back it up because there's enough reasonably minded people that know they're going to be fucked if they start taking that away. So while I understand your concern, I don't honestly think they're going to be able to get away with it. They might try to nickel and dime some things here, but well, Eric can answer this because Eric's on the same stance as I am about that. What do you think about that, Eric, as far as what he can actually do with the veterans benefits?
Without passing much through Congress, not a whole lot. And as you were talking about, as I've said in my videos and lives, they have to get reelected. Midterms are coming. I'm already seeing primary challengers like our junior senator Joni Ernst. I'm already seeing a MAGA primary challenger against her. She's a Republican. They're going to eat their own. If they go to take away veterans benefits and stuff like that after running on a pro-military help the vets can't platform for so long, they're going to struggle to get reelected even in their own seats in their own safe areas.
Right.
Worst case, they get primaried out, and sure, maybe it's a different Republican, but they won't have the seat, they won't have the pay, they won't have the power. There's going to be some support for taking out veteran stuff. I just don't think there's going to be enough. Just like going after food stamps, going after Social Security, going after Medicare, Medicaid. There's going to be some support. There's not enough, and I don't see enough Democrats, if any, supporting any of that.
Yeah, when I took my oath, I raised my right hand to swear and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And now I get hurt. I get hurt really bad, and they don't want to take care of the vet. Come on, but like you said, I mean, don't sweat it, right?
Well, I won't say don't sweat it. I don't think it's going to happen. that would cause an incredible blowback, and it would be embarrassing for most Republicans. Remember, Donald Trump doesn't have anything to lose. He doesn't have to get reelected. He can talk all the shit he wants, but try to remember back to the first term when he was president. He talked a
I,
lot of shit then too, but what did he accomplish? He got the tax break for the wealthy. Beyond that, he didn't accomplish anything over and above the Republicans pushing back, and they already did with the him wanting to get rid of the debt ceiling. They said no, so they're not opposed to telling Donald Trump no. But over and above that, he's incompetent. It's going to be hard for him to get a lot of things done.
yeah.
Well,
I
well,
go
number
ahead.
one, Dean, thank you for your service. And
It's my honor.
number two, maybe Eric will correct me on this. I don't know, but as far as I am knowledgeable on the subject, I think the VA is mandatory spending. I don't think that it's discretionary. So I don't think Donald Trump could do anything about it if he wanted to.
That'd be
Well,
awesome.
I think it
That'd
is
be awesome.
mandatory spending, but
Yeah.
I still think I think when it's mandatory spending though, I think all that means is whatever funding they've approved gets spent regardless of there's a government shutdown. So like if they
Right.
shut the government down for 3 weeks, they still pay VA benefits for those 3 weeks. But I think they can still fudge the amounts and what gets covered by the VA, those kind of things. I think they can tweak that, but they
Wow.
can't stop the Treasury from actually making the payment. But again, I don't think they have the votes, even with the majority in both houses. They don't have the hardline votes to pass it all
No way.
because 2 no votes out of Republicans and it fails in the House.
Right.
Only takes 2. There's going to be at least a couple that no.
There's
They
going to
go
be
against
two.
it.
At least a couple that are veterans.
Yeah, and
Right.
there's going to be two that want to save their job too, because if they
Yeah.
vote against veterans, it's game over.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Speaking about veterans, I saw a very disturbing MAGA picture. It's President Trump sitting there with a five-star general uniform on. And I told this guy, why this is total disrespect for the veterans. You have Trump in a five-star general uniform with all kind of ribbons on his chest. I said, that's
Yeah.
wrong. He said
Yeah.
it's only a picture. But it's
Was that one of
disrespect.
his NFC fucking card bullshit things?
He's,
NFTs, yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
president. He's President Bone Spurs. He's a disgrace and a draft dodger.
Oh my God! Another thing too, when Trump said, when this veteran had a Purple Heart, he said, "I always wanted one of those. You have to earn that."
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a disgrace.
It's a total
I,
disgrace.
I, 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 I know there's some people out there that would love to help him with that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Too
Oh my
bad they
God.
missed.
For sure.
I didn't think it would
Too
go
bad
there,
that-
but Mike took it
Too
there.
bad that kid missed. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll live long enough to finish his term, or he's going to be impeached. He has so much against him. But anyway, Boomer and the rest of the panel, you guys are great. I've been listening to you. I've been following you for a long time. I've been trying to get on for almost a month, but I finally caught you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. You're awesome. I love
Well,
your
we-
information. And you're good.
well, I appreciate you watching and paying attention and contributing here. And it's always a scary thing when I push a button and say, "Oh, you're going to be on the show." Because I tell you what, Dean, you have the same problem I have. When you look at us, you go, "That motherfucker's a Trump humper," because we're old and we're white. And we carry that burden with us. But I appreciate you coming on, and please feel free to come on anytime.
Thank you for your service, Dean. And thank
It
you
was
for
my honor. It was my honor. But one more thing. My dad came to this country from the island of Cyprus with pocket change in his pocket. 1948, 1949, he owned his first restaurant. Couldn't speak
Wow.
English, could only say thank you very much. I'm Greek. I am Greek. And strong believer, just a strong believer in what happens. So anyway,
Absolutely.
with that being said, thank you for what you do. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And you guys have a wonderful rest of the night and a perfect weekend.
You too, Dean.
You too, Dean. We appreciate your contribution. That is Dean, a former vet who's worried about veterans' benefits, and he has good reason to be worried about it. But as Eric and I and TJ and Rebecca were talking about, I don't know how they pull that off without just an absolute disaster
That's
politically.
political suicide. It's political suicide for them to fuck with their veterans' benefits.
Well, and this is typical of what Republicans do. They constantly throw out threats because they thrive on fear and they want us fearful. That's why I tell people, don't be afraid, be angry, be ready to fight. Because if you're fearful, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. That's the effect they want on you. And we can't let them have what they want. We just can't do it.
No, you can't let them have us be afraid. And that's part of why I keep saying the things I say, that they don't have the votes. We have to point out where they're going to fail. And when they do fail, we have to point it out every time that they're not going to get things their way. Did you see Donald Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary during his confirmation hearing? Did you see what he
I
said
did
about
not.
the minimum wage?
I
Yeah,
saw it.
I heard. Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah, 725 is fine.
Yeah,
That's
it's
livable.
fine.
What the fuck?
It's great. Yeah.
you know what I think.
$7.25 here for literally what, TJ? 15 years?
15 years it's been $7.25 an hour.
Yep.
Right.
His pick for
Going
Treasury
on
Secretary doesn't think it needs to change.
Yeah.
And yeah, he tried to weasel out of the question, but Bertie wouldn't let him out of it.
Luckily, during COVID here, minimum wage, people started realizing, hey, we can't pay people this amount of money because nobody wants to work or they died. So
Right.
I work at Home Depot one night a week. Literally one night a week. I've tried to quit 10 times, but they won't let me. So I work one night a week, and I make $19 an hour. Just working my one night a week day.
Yeah, well,
But they don't hire here at $7.25 an hour anymore because nobody will fucking work for that. Because people stood up and said during COVID, they stood up and said, "We're not putting our lives at risk for $7.25 an hour."
It's a joke.
Yeah.
And let me give you a little insight on why they don't want to do that. Because if they raise minimum wage on a federal level, okay, what will happen is it'll have a ripple effect on the wages across the board in the country. Because
right.
if you raise the minimum wage, all the people who are making just above that minimum wage or a little bit above that minimum wage, they're all going to get pay raises. So all the corporations are going to have to pay people more money. And that's why all the corporations who are in the pockets of all these legislators are fighting against that, because it's a ripple effect to all workers in the country. You know, union, non-union, it doesn't matter. It will raise the wage rates of everyone.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
not really true. Because I've worked at Home Depot for 4 years and they make $19 an hour. There's people that make less than me, have worked there longer than me because they started at less than me, and they just gave them their incremental raises, and nobody says a thing. So that's not necessarily.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, though. The thing about that is that other companies that are hiring, they have to set the bar higher, so people will leave jobs if they're making 12 an hour and the minimum wage is 15. Other companies are going to set the bar higher on their hiring.
Oh, I agree with that.
It might be 19 an hour to start rather than 12.
I agree with that, but people are reluctant to leave their jobs that they've known for years and years and years.
Yeah, but for a $7 pay increase, they're going to do that.
You know, I think the biggest problem we have in this country, everybody talks about prices, how much the price of eggs is, how much the cost of gas is, and inflation. I think our biggest problem in this country, and it's not just for the people who are suffering through it, it's for the future of this country, is what we pay people. It's always pay them as little as we can get away with. The problem with that is we've got millennials and Gen Zs with student loans. They're getting paid bullshit after getting a college college education. And here's the problem. And here's where the boomers are affected by this too. They can't see it. If you've got an entire society of millennials and Gen Zs, and basically they're going to take over, if none of them can qualify or afford a house or buy a new car or have any discretionary money, what the fuck is that going to do to this economy? It's
Yeah,
going to be horrible.
So your house that you bought and paid off is worth freaking nothing because nobody is going to buy it that it wants.
Nobody can afford it.
And no one can afford to buy your house.
Other than
Exactly.
landlords who want to buy it to rent out at
No.
3 times what it should run.
Eric, you're wrong. It's not going to be landlords. It's going to be corporations that are buying all the properties. That's what's going on right now.
Well, that's kind of what I meant with landlords, but buying up the houses for rental property, as whether it's a single person buying a couple houses or a big company, don't matter. It's still going to be rented out. Instead of being a $600-700 rent, it's going to be 18 and go, well, what else are you going to do? You got to pay it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Right, and
Absolutely.
I understand that because I'm a landlord too. But like, the thing is that these hedge funds are out buying up residential properties like crazy. That's their end game goal, is to own all the properties so that they have perpetual income.
Well, particularly here, because our like prices here to buy a house that you can rent out or a multiple property you can rent out is extremely low compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So here, and we also recently had a really big shortage of rentals. So people were buying, like, TJ was selling a multiple dwelling property, 3 apartments, and he wanted to get like what he paid for it. And he ended up getting like what, 4 times that, TJ?
I got 4 times what I paid for it.
Yeah. Because there's no place to rent. There's no
rentals.
It's insane. The market here is insane. And when I say insane, it's still ridiculously cheap.
I'm going to pull somebody else up here if I pick the right person. Yeah, okay. This is a guy who comments a lot and DMs me a lot, and I thought I got to meet this guy. His name on TikTok is Mr. Suave de Boner. So this is the kind of goofball I want to talk to.
I love it.
Mr. Suave,
everybody.
how you doing?
And yep, that would be that's
I
me.
bow out for this
Suave
one?
the Boner. And the reason that I name myself that is because my wife says that I'm the redneck, suave, and debonair guy. Now, I'm not quite sure what that means, but okay. That means I are suave de boner.
Well, I hope if you're a redneck, I hope you're not a Trump supporter.
Oh, wait.
It's gonna be bad for
Ho
you.
ho ho ho!
Is it really
No, I just
Suave
got me
de Bonet?
one of them squishy Trumps so I can have a little fun with that. Run his ass over a few times.
I love those videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where are you from, Mister?
I live up in the fourth corner, and the fourth corner is defined as Whatcom County, Washington.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm probably about 20 miles from Canada. Go up there frequently because we have property up there. So, we swing back and forth quite a bit.
And
I'd describe it that way.
you have a lot of opinions when you send me those DMs and comments and stuff. You obviously have a lot of opinions about things, and I think that's great. I think we all need to have opinions and questions and keep pushing it. What's your biggest concern right now with the imminent inauguration of Donald Trump?
I think my biggest concern is going to be, how do we all stay safe? How do we all kind of keep moving the ball forward? What can we do to resist? How can we, in our own little way, do our part to help out? How do we work to take down this fucker?
That's a good point. And you have thoughts as to how you want to do it? I mean, we all have different platforms or different situations, and some of us can do a little, some of us can do a lot. I think it's important we do something, regardless if it's little or a lot. What kind of things do you see you need to
Well,
do?
I think that if you can, one of the biggest things you can do is get out of the markets. It's like
Good
get
point.
out bonds. I went to gold personally. We cashed out all our stuff. We put it into gold, and I'm thinking that this fool is going to crash the markets. There are some things that
Yeah.
we can kind of do to help with that. Um, if more people take their money out of the markets, put it into gold, do some other things, put it in, maybe put it under your mattress, but get out
Yeah.
of the markets. It's like, why should we let anybody else lose your money for you?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to talk to my financial guy in a couple of weeks, and that will be my question. If we know the market crashes every time there's a Republican in, and then we have double the danger with Donald Trump, who's doing some crazy shit, why are we investing in anything that has any risk at all?
Can I tell
I
you
know
what
we
I
took.
did? Can I tell you
Yeah,
what
go ahead.
I took my investments. I was invested in a way. There's models that I can, manipulate on my investments, and so I took my investments from a very aggressive model and I moved them into a very conservative model right now because I fear that the market will go into recession. That's what's going to happen. I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind that we're going to hit a recession. So I moved my investments and I sold out of some of my aggressive investments into more conservative investments that will, continue to grow regardless if the market tanks.
Well,
So
that's what
that's
like
that's
comes
my
back.
suggestion right now is to, if you have aggressive investments, take your money and move it because you're going to be in big trouble if the market tanks.
That comes back to what somebody was saying earlier about being scared. It's not about being scared. It's about being cautious.
Cautious. Yes, agree.
Yes, cautious.
Agree with that.
So,
I know what I did. I haven't, I've got to talk to my guy about what investments we have, but a significant portion of that investment we took out and just bought property in a place we want to go and where kids want to go and such. And they kind of push back. Well, that's not a smart thing. No, you know what? That property is going to be there and we enjoy it, whether it's worth what it was when we bought it or less or more. It's still going to be valuable to us. We were able to benefit from it while we're alive. But there has to be some hard decisions made as to what's going on because they love to talk about the 401k. And I got to tell you, if your 401k goes to shit, and it did in 2008, we got to be careful. I mean, especially older people like us, Mr. Suave, we don't have a lot of years to recoup it. So we've got to be safe now as opposed to taking any kind of risks.
well, my theory is okay, so markets start to crash, gold goes way up, right?
Yeah.
Or normally that's what happens, precious metals go up. So then you just wait till the crash is over. Things are a little on the mend. Trump is out of office. And guess what? If you want to get back into the markets, you're probably going to get back in for a whole lot cheaper
Yeah.
with your gold that's already a whole lot more valuable.
Yeah, true. That's
But,
a good point.
then again, property is always a good bet. It's hard to take property away from you.
Especially when it's
Assuming
paid
that
off.
you pay your taxes and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Mr. Suave, I appreciate you coming on. I've been anxious to hear what you sound like, and I'm willing to tell you right now, you sound exactly like I expected, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night now.
You too. That is Mr. Suave de Boner. And Rebecca asked, does he really mean de Bonet? No, it's de Boner. If you look at it, it's Mr. Suave de Boner, and I appreciate the humor in it.
Great. And like I said, I moved a lot of my investments. Some of my investments are in Vanguard, and I moved it into gas and oil because regardless of if the market crashes, there's still going to be money in gas and oil.
Yeah.
That's
So,
true.
so people that have investments in the market, if you move them to Vanguard and move them into gas and oil, you're not going to lose money even if there's a recession.
Yeah. And we got to be thinking about this shit. I mean, we don't know what the future holds. We know that Donald Trump is going to do some damage to the economy. We were fortunate with Barack Obama coming in after George W. Bush and brought it back. It took some time. Like I've told people before, 4 years before we get a new president doesn't seem that long unless you're 65 or 70 years old. And that's a pretty good chunk of your remaining lifespan. So I'm anxious to try to get some things done quicker, and not sure how we can do that, if we can do it at all.
And another thing is Mr. Boner has a point in real estate.
Mr.
Because
Boner.
Mr. Like, I'm trying not to laugh. If real estate right now is booming, so and the bonds market follows that. So if you have money that you're going to want to move around, you can move it into bonds, or you can invest in real estate. And the value of real estate's going up and up and up and up and up and up. You're not going to lose money on it because, again, there's a lot of competition in real estate. The hedge funds are buying up everything. The price of properties are skyrocketing, at least in my region they are. So real estate's a good investment right now.
It is. It is. And I'm not an investment expert. That's why I have a financial guy to tell me what the fuck is up. But I'm curious as to what you guys think. This airs on the 17th of January, 2 days before the inauguration. I don't think most of us are going to watch it. It's going to be a shit show. The speech is going to be horrible. We know that in advance. But what do you think happens the first 2 days after the inauguration? I know a lot of people are fearful. Do you think much happens the first 2 days? I know Donald Trump's talking about 100 executive orders, but that's pretty lofty for a guy who's lazy as fuck.
I want to hear from Eric because he's been quiet.
Agreed.
Well, as far as the 100 executive orders, no, he's probably not going to do a bunch. Talked about it before. I think a lot of those executive orders are going to be reversals of Biden's, reversals of Trump's executive orders that were reversals of Obama's policies. That's standard back and forth politics.
Right.
I think a bunch of his executive orders, the big ones, are going to be tied up in court, probably for 4, 5, 6 years, or they're going to be tossed and he's going to be laughed out of court because they're blatantly illegal, blatantly unconstitutional. Now, for those people that are worried about the immunity ruling doesn't allow him to write any executive order he wants unchecked. He can write them,
Right.
sure. He's immune from being charged with a crime for writing a unconstitutional executive order. Like him writing it and signing the order, he can't be charged for. The order itself can still be tossed out. The immunity ruling doesn't change that. So I'm not worried about his first few days. I think he's gonna try the best to do what he can, and he's going to embarrass himself at every step of the way.
Well, I think it's important to remember while he may have some immunity for some things or some arguments, when it comes down to deciding what's immunity and what's not immunity, assuming he's out of the presidency, there'll be a lot of debate over that, and Donald Trump won't have the luxury of something to save him. But over and above that, all the people that are party to the things he's doing, they don't have immunity. And when this is all said and done, if they do some shit that's pretty illegal or egregious, they're going to be on the fucking on the stage to be taken to task. We saw it before in the first term, and there's going to be a lot of people, if they do what Donald Trump wants to do, that are going to do some jail time when it's over because there's nothing left to save them.
Would love to see it.
Yeah, Mr. Dictator for a day has so many limitations on him doing anything. I don't
Oh
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't have nearly. They like to brag up how much power they have, and oh, they've got a mandate, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and some of the stuff that they talk about wanting to do would take an amendment. They don't have the votes to do hardly any of it. He's very weak, and he's in for a different reality than his first term, because as we've talked about a lot, his usefulness to the Republican Party is over pretty much the minute he gets done saying the oath of office.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he's been on the offensive through this whole campaign. He's going to spend a lot of time on the defensive, trying to explain some of the shit he's going to do, not only to the people, but to the Republican Party, who are going to have a problem with a lot of this shit. Like you said, Eric, they got to get reelected, and they're not going to get reelected if Donald Trump fucks everything up.
Oh yeah, and one of the things I've talked about with you and in my videos and stuff is I look at history, and with as bad as what they're talking about, what his tariffs and his economic policies could do, and I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but they're talking it could be a Great Depression style crash of the economy. If he
Right.
crashes it that bad, looking at history, what happened? Herbert Hoover crashed the economy in 29, said, well, it'll fix itself, trickle down, hands off.
Right.
FDR comes in 32, and Democrats had control of the presidency and Congress for basically 20 years straight
Yeah.
because they fixed
Yeah.
the shit.
Eric's right about that. And economists are pointing to we're going to go into a recession. And I think it's going to be worse than anyone ever imagined. So
I will say
Eric,
this, though. I will say this, though. Those same economists said we would have a depression when Joe Biden took over. I take what the economists say with a grain of salt. It's more political than actual facts. It's more likely with Donald Trump because of the crazy shit he's going to do. But they told us the same thing with Joe Biden.
Well, normally I would agree with you, Mike, but if you slap on 25% tariffs onto Canada and Mexico and 35% on China, like that's going to have a big impact on spending power in the
question.
United States.
I
Yeah, and
agree.
I don't need
I agree.
I
with
don't
you.
need an economist. I don't need to have an economist tell me that. I mean, just common sense tells us that. I question the economist and whether they're legit or they're just political.
Right. I agree with that. I'm just going along with what we're talking about as far as economists are saying that plus the tariffs.
I
Yeah,
agree with
no.
you, Mike. That's why I say cautious, not scared.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to wrap things up here. We've gone long enough. This will be an extra podcast. And for those of you that are watching on the live, and if you're not checking out the podcast, I want to encourage you to do that. I do a podcast every night, sometimes more than one podcast. You can get it on YouTube. You get the video version on YouTube. Just look for Rational Boomer. You get the audio version on Spotify. You just look up Rational Boomer and you'll find it. TikTok's not going to be shut down on Sunday, but we don't know what the future holds. So if you can't get us here, you'll get us there, but we ain't going away. Thanks to all you guys for joining me tonight.
Yeah, I got a quick comment. I think that we're at the point where we've tamed the Trumplefux a little bit because we blocked some people tonight, but like the numbers are going way down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I blocked quite a few people, but they were not. There was nowhere near what there usually is in those podcasts.
Right. I think we're finally getting ahead of the curve here.
Yeah, I think we are, and I'm sure they're busy planning how to make America great again. So let's just let them work and see how that works out. Fucking idiots. Anyway, thank you guys. All of you that listened and asked questions and came on the show, thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it immensely. I'm always here someplace, and so are these guys. Check out Analytical Iowan on TikTok, TJ the Plumber, and Rebecca. They're all here. Old Soul and some of the other folks are always around too. There's plenty of information to be had. I thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Good night, Mike.